How's it going, everyone? Guys, just write yes if you can hear me on the YouTube chat. Still not working?
TJ, I see it. Everything just fine.
All right, perfect. Well, let's get started. So, as you guys know, we have a special guest today. So, Laura is going to be um, teaching you guys about gap fill strategies. Now, this is a strategy that I used to use a lot. Now, I should have used it because that would have saved me from tremendous amount of drawdowns during our little market correction. And as you guys know, statements made by United Traders or its members are opinions and not investment advice. So you guys have to take this advice and do your own DD. Now, let me introduce you guys to Laura. So Laura is a chemical engineer. She's a successful business owner, and she has won awards for teaching physics to university level students. So you guys are in for a treat. She started trading in 2008. Oh, wow, the same time as I started. And she's known for making, complex concepts much easier. And you guys are going to learn a little bit about that today. She joined UT in 2017 when she became a full-time trader, and she currently lives in Arizona. And Laura, I'll let you take it away from here.
Hi, can you guys hear me? I am,
Yes.
okay, you're getting yeses, great. Okay, so before I start, I guess I'll just tell you a little story. Um, it's a personal trading story. I think probably most of you will probably remember trading Thursday and Friday, March 4th and 5th. Well, I typically sleep in a little bit in the mornings. I don't trade the first hour of market open because of the market instability. And I do sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, I put my phone on, and I hear these bings going off. I mean, a lot of bings going off first thing in the morning. And I'm, just getting out of bed. And those bings were my buy orders coming in. Lots of buy orders were coming in at, pretty early in the morning. And I'm going to actually go through some of my trades today with you of what some of those buy orders were. They were my gaps being filled. Everybody knows there was all red in the market those couple days, big red waterfalls, I call them. Anyways, so it was almost, I was a little bit like probably most of you guys were in a little bit of panic. But then I realized the confidence that I have with the strategy. So my panic turned to delight, hours later as I saw the market recovering. So I just wanted to share my strategy with you guys. It's something I use about 60% of the time. I don't use this strategy exclusively, but I do use it about 60% of my trades. So, and I call it the lazy man's, trading strategy, because you kind of set it and forget it. Not everybody should do that, but this is my method. This is how I do things. And what you can do to help yourself out is to set alerts as your trade, as price action becomes closer to your trade. Anyway, so the first thing you want to do, this is of course called the gap fill strategy. And in order to really get a good visualization of the price action on the daily chart, what you need to do is you need to uncheck this box where it says show extended trading hours. So you uncheck that. This would be for TOS. You go to chart settings, equities, and then uncheck this box here. And then you will be able to not see the extended trading hours. And that's what we want for this gap fill strategy. And then this is for interactive brokers, which I do not have, but I'm putting this up so everybody can see how to do that with interactive brokers. And I'll give you a second. Okay, and then, so this is one of my trades. I just want to kind of show you what I'm looking at here. So there are several gaps here. There's 2 gaps here. And so what we're looking at is what I think I put my, I'll show you the next slide here in a second. This is right where I put my trade, right here. And what you want to do as a confirmation is you want to look at the RSI. You want to look at the RSI and make sure when you are taking the gap fill trade, if you're awake, of course, but if you're awake, you want to make sure that the RSI is, you know, you want to have some other indicators when you're taking the trade. So this is what I'm showing in this graphic here. So there's 2, but I think I actually put my price right at the bottom of this hammer candle here. So I was very lucky. And then let's see, the next one. Oh yeah, so, okay, so I have bought in here at this price action. I think it was at, let me see. I'm gonna have to pull up my other chart so I can kind of see where this is right at. Yeah, I think it was like at 11:35 or something like that. So this is where price action is right now. Hold on a second. Bring this over. So this is where price action is right now. It has come up to about, let's see, it's up about 57% since my buy-in. So I'm going to go back to the other slide in a second here. Move this over. Oh boy, let's see. There we go. So my potential sell order is going to be somewhere in this gap fill area here. One thing you should know about gaps is that they're like magnets for price action. So like if you could take anything away from this lesson, just that would be the best thing to take away, would be the gaps are magnets for price action. They're almost always going to fill. And the reason why we have gaps in the first place is because there's a hello, where's my, I'm just gonna go through all this here. If there isn't someone to take the other side of the trade, the market makers have to take it. So that's why I usually have a gap. If there's not enough buyers, the market makers have to drop the price, until there are buyers. And that is what causes the gap to form. Market makers can manipulate the price so the gap fills. And once the gap fills, the market makers can close their position. And they don't want to hold it forever. So what we're going to talk about are, there's a full and partial gap fills, okay? So there's a lot of times when you're going to get a complete full gap fill to the penny. And it will either reverse, go in the other direction, as in this case of F cell, or it will go in the opposite, or it'll just keep going in the same direction. So gap fill and go, keeps going, or gap fill and then reverse. Okay, in this case, it reversed. So when I see another gap at the top here, I will likely short in one of these locations. So if I hold it that long, you know, I have to kind of see, and then like I said, I set my alerts. And then of course I watch for the RSI as well as it gets close to my gap fill. So let's look at some of these others. So here is LI, another one I took. Pretty close to it was actually right on my gap on this, in this particular case. And you can also see with volume profile. I know several of the traders have talked to you guys about volume profile. You can actually see where there's lack of trade price action. And that's also going to help you if you don't see the gaps right away. You can actually just look at the volume profile. To me, it's easier just to look at the candles to see where the gaps are. And so what we're looking at is usually the body of the candle. And that might be a question you guys have toward the end. So I can actually, that's why I drew some of these out, some of the lines out prior to, you know, I didn't want to do it right when we were, you know, using the actual chart. I would have to prepare these slides so you know what I'm talking about. And you can see here is my line where I drew this blue line here across the screen, the horizontal line. You can see where the price action has the gap. You can see the RSI was in the actual perfect buy territory. And then there is another gap above. So now that I'm already in this trade, everybody knows where my sell orders are likely going to be sitting. And that could be a problem too, you know, if you have your sell orders, you know, to the penny of the gap, you may not get filled. So you have to be, you know, cautious about that. You might have to bring it down a few pennies, but usually gaps fill. So that's an example there. And I'll move on to the next one. I'll take questions at the end too. Let's see, NEO. Nobody's ever traded NEO. Just kidding. This is a real popular stock, so that's why I wanted to put this on. The reason I wanted to show this graphic first is because you can clearly see the price action here in the volume profile. You can see where it was traded heavily. You can see where there was very little trading. Here, this gap hasn't filled yet, and we'll look at that in more depth. But there was a gap to fill closer to where price action is. So you really want to be, you know, you can put, you know, your buy order at the lowest gap, but you may not get filled at the lowest gap. You want to put it closest to the price action, because a lot of times you'll get a gap fill and then it will bounce. Once you get the bounce, it may come back down to your lower level gap fill. So let me put up NEO chart right now while I am. And again, we're going to do the daily NEO. If you're following along, so you can, I'm going to bring up this one. Okay, here we go. Bringing this over. So as you can see, I bought right in this gap here where this blue line is. And so you can see that's a gain of about 40% right there. So when gaps fill, I mean, this is a really good strategy to get really good gains. And it's not really talked about that often, to be honest. I watch a ton of videos and I do not see this strategy used very often. Anyway, you can see as the RSI, it's coming up on the RSI. And it may actually have a little bit more, to go. But anyway, I just wanted to show you where it is currently, where we're trading currently on NEO. And one other thing is, I wasn't trading it when it was up here at the $66 range. That is not my strategy. My strategy is, mostly gap fills. So I really do like to take advantage of when price action goes to fill that gap. So I'm going to take just a more deep look at NEO. Again, the day I bought, all the bings going off when I'm waking up. So you can kind of see right here, the body of this candle. So you kind of want to avoid the wicks. So price action will usually come down to the body of the candle. I would say the best thing to do is hover over the candle and find out where the closing price is, or like the closing price between this candle and this candle. That's the actual gap. So I would hover over this candle here, and I would probably find out what that gap was, what the closing price was, and that's the price I would typically put in my buy order of. But, I'll show you an example where I have a buy order and it didn't quite hit. Okay, this one I alerted to everybody on the one, it was like later in the afternoon, I think, when this one hit. This is PLTR. This was the first time I've actually traded this. This one is on my gap fill. I was waiting for the gap to fill. So I wasn't trading it up here at the $45 range. I was waiting for my gap to fill. And again, if you hover over this candle, you'll be able to see. And I got my gap fill here. Right on target. So, and the RSI was pretty much where I wanted to be. So I took the trade. And as you can see in this photo, I have 500 shares, and I'm more than likely going to sell about this gap fill here. I think that was about 31 and change. So let's see, I'm going to put that in here. And it may not make it up there, but I will keep watching that RSI. I will keep watching other indicators to let me know. But right now, PLTR looks pretty bullish, in my opinion. So here's PLTR. Oh, sorry, I'll take off all my drawings. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, so you can see how I have alerts for myself here, which are really important to put alerts, because I may not get my shares sold where I want them. But it is kind of the lazy man's way, like I mentioned earlier, on how to trade gap fills. What else was I going to show you? Okay. Yeah, I kind of went over this one already. I did show this one in chat. This is a dragonfly doji in chat, and this is right when my trade was about to be executed. Right on these three candles here. I can't remember my exact price I got, but I put this in chat and I said, you guys, this is a reversal candle. this is a place to buy, basically. So, all right, and that's PLTR. Okay, here's another interesting example. This was, now I already have lots of shares of CBAT already, but I was wanting to add more, okay, at my gap fill price. And my gap fill price, I might not have gotten this exactly right, but it was $3.97. That was my gap fill price. And this candle, this red hammer candle came down to $4 even. I should have known though that that's where I probably should have placed my trade. As you can see, it fell like I think it was 3 pennies short, actually. I think I goofed there. It's either 2 or 3 pennies short of where my price target was. So, you know, I lost out on that one. So I wanted to show you that because, and like I said, I still have over, I think, 500 to 1,000 shares. I can't remember at this point of this, but I didn't get my fill here. And I wasn't watching it, so I couldn't fill it right away. So anyway, there is another gap up here, as you can see. So I don't know what the current price action is on CBAT. I can take a look. Give me 1 second. Looking at the daily chart here. Need to, oops. Okay. All right. Okay, it's up about, let's see. It's up about 37% since the gap fill, which is good. Okay, anyway, so I don't know if I'm going to add more or not at this point, but I haven't taken the trade after I already missed it, which I should have, but I didn't. Okay, anyway, let's move on to the next one. And then I will definitely take questions at the end. Here's another one I took that same day, or those same days. I can't remember which one it was, but let's see. So yeah, I think I had a gap, or I'm trying to remember now. I have to look it up on my. Okay, so in this particular one, there's a gap to fill above, and I do have my buy order there, sitting there. So you can kind of see there is, I don't know if this was, I don't know if it was earnings or something, why it gapped down. But at this point, I think I'm in this trade. So, you know, we'll have to see. Setting alerts is, again, really important so that you don't miss your, or you know that the price action is getting closer and closer to the gap fill. And then you can also confirm it in this particular case when I did, I think I bought in over in this location right here. But you can actually see there is positive divergence on the RSI, and you can see that here in the price action as well. So so you can, you know, confirm your trade, and that's important. I know I bought down here, but as far as my sell order, it's just sitting up there. So again, you might have to move it a couple pennies up and down because you may just get a partial gap fill. You may not get a full gap fill. So keep that in mind when you're placing your buy orders. And of course, do your due diligence. You know, don't take my strategy and use it if you don't feel confident that this will work for you. So, all right, and this is my favorite. TJ named me VIX Queen, TVIX Queen, when we were trading TVIX, and gosh, we both missed TVIX, but there is the VIX, and this little gap here has been bothering me for over a year now, and my goodness. So yeah, so I've been really waiting for this gap to fill here. And I think it will, because I think we are heading bullish for several weeks, and I think we've already broken this trend line. So if I were to pull up the VIX, I think that trend line has been broken just this past week. So give me a second here. Hope you guys are all following along. I'm not reading chat. I do want to get your feedback and hear what you have to say. So give me a second here. We're going to get to that. I think this is one of my last slides. So, and I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to tell me about some charts that you think have gaps and you are thinking about putting, if this is the strategy you've used or considering wanting to use, where would you put your price action? That's what I would like to know, to see if you guys have really gotten this, to really understand what I'm talking about. So anyways, back to the TVIX chart. So I'm seeing a trend line kind of along here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but I think price action has really come down. I'll post another chart of, let me just, here we go. Moving this over. So here's the VIX chart. I really should remove some of my lines, but this is the daily. But you can kind of see VIX is coming down. We are at what, 20, we close the day 2050. Oh, it says 2069, but anyways, so I do think we will get a gap fill. And as you can see, all of my alerts are here. Okay, my alert, I think one of alert was $19.69, $19.69. Another alert is $18. Final alert is $15.76. You know I will be in VIX calls if this gap fills. Okay, I'm just waiting on it. So I'm going to put that aside for now. And of course, I have alert over if we come over 31.99. Anyway, so oh, there is more. Sorry, there is a couple more. Okay, so this is XPEV. So this is another one that I purchased. It was either Thursday or Friday. It was right when the gap filled. Now there is a second gap here. I don't know if you can see that. But usually you will fill the first gap. If there's two consecutive gaps, you usually fill the first gap, and especially if price has dropped a lot, which it has. So at least you'll fill the first gap and then, make your way back up again. We'll kind of see where that is. I'm gonna pull that up right now. All right, let's see. So we have come, since the gap fill, we have come up about 43%, say 40%. So, you know, that was a pretty good trade too. And then the hammer candle, you know, is really helpful to see that along with the RSI really in the right area under 30. So here's another one I bought. My gap. Well, I don't know if I actually got plug or not. Oh no. Okay, this is one I wanted to show you. I did eventually buy it, but my gap. So here's one thing that I did that didn't work, which typically a lot of traders do. They put their buy order right at support or resistance here, which I was thinking, okay, that might be a better location to put the buy order right here. But look, it filled my gap right there. This is the gap. It didn't even come down to the support or the resistance of these candles here. Filled the gap and then it reversed. So you can see how good this strategy works because it didn't even come down to the main support. This is unarguably, this is the main support, or this is the main support here. But it came down to my gap fill and then it took off. So I did buy this one, but I actually had my buy order at the main support. Why not get a lower price, right? But anyways, I ended up buying it up here. I think about 37. But anyways, the RSI was still good. And again, my alerts are here too, which are important. Always have alerts. Okay, here's another one. Okay, this one was not a gap fill when I bought in here. Okay, I just, you know, I had my trend line drawn. You can see there is a reaction here. There's a reaction here. There's a reaction here. You know, there's several reactions along this blue trend line. And so I knew there'd probably be a reaction here as this was coming down. So I did buy in here, but I did short it up here. And the nice thing was it came to the penny right here, filled to the penny, an accurate place to reverse the trade. So I did get a sell order in right here. I sold short here. And this was my confirmation candle here, this big red candle. It did not go above my sell order, confirmation candle. And now that I've bought in down here with the good RSI, you can see there's multiple gaps here. There's two gaps, right? So of course I want, you know, a larger, TJ has always taught me to hold the trade as long as you can. And I've been working on that instead of taking profits. But, you know, taking profits is also important too. So that's been my biggest challenge, is holding the trades long enough. But as you can see from this volume profile, this gap is likely going to fill because there's very little trading up here. So I don't know, but I put my limit order. I think I put my limit order at about want to say 107 or 108. Can't really tell on this particular chart, but it's very close to where this gap has filled, would be filled here. You can also put it down here if you bought in down here. You can also put your sell order here. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And I guess we're ready for Q&A. So I'm going to try to get to the chat. And I'm sorry if you guys had questions along. Let me see, how do I get chat on here?
I can find like the questions that people were asking.
Okay, that would be fine.
There was a really good question, just trying to find it now. Oh, How do you scan for such gaps? Do you spend a couple hours on weekends simply scrolling through your watch list and scanning for gaps?
That is a really, really good question. I do not have a scanner for that, but I do put a lot of, chart time in. So, like I said, it's, it's a lot of time put in, but you have to go through you probably want to go through companies that are worthwhile to keep. So I would say, make a list of all the tickers that you are used to trading. And there's likely to be a gap on your favorite tickers. So just go through your favorite tickers and the ones that you trade regularly and just spend some time looking for those gaps. Remember, you have to turn off the after hours trading um, price action so you can get accurate fills on your buy orders.
Yeah, and guys, take notes because Laura has the highest profit factor on our team. I think her average winning trade is around like $500. Average losing trade is like $50, and that's over a course of like 160 different trades. So almost I think 95% win rate around there. And our profit factor is at like 180 or something. So you can learn a lot from these guys. Oh, okay. Laura actually pulled it
And
up.
there
There we
it
go.
is. There it is. So most recent, it's gone exponential here. So that's pretty good. TJ had talked about my my trades going exponential soon. So I'm really excited about this. But yeah, my average daily gain is 868. My largest gain was 5,182. Total 84,202. And this is kind of my win ratio here, 95% win ratio. So pretty happy about that. So
Yeah, and 60% of your trades you mentioned is from that gap strategy, right?
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I gotta start doing that too. Placing my stop losses underneath the gap down
Oh
areas.
dear. I'm never gonna get them that then, TJ. Your big whale buys are gonna come in and I'll never get my fills.
No, you still will, knowing this market. And I had the similar sort of story to you too. It's just in one day, all my buy orders went through, and I'm like, oh, great. How am I gonna manage all these at the same time? And it was just like
Oh yeah,
one after
my heart
another.
dropped out of yeah, my heart dropped out of my chest in the morning because I hear bing, bing, bing on my phone, right? And I'm like, oh dear. Of course, I fly out of bed and I'm like, those are all my buy orders. Oh my God, what is going on? And then I see my gaps are all filling. And then I realize the confidence, you know, and then all the stuff that you've also told me. You want to buy low, buy the dips, buy the dips. So yeah, may not always be the case in the future, but for now, I think we are and still in a good bull market, at least for a while. So
Yeah, and oh, it was scary that day because I was like, oh no, it's dipping even more, and I was like, there's no way I can possibly like put a stop loss in all of them because like by the time I got to like five tickers, the rest were already down, and I'm like, you know what?
I
I
know
chose these
it's
prices.
exactly,
I left it there.
you're right. You chose the prices. I did too. I chose those prices and I have to, feel okay about that. And I obviously am because I'm up 30-40% on all 10 tickers that bought during those 2 days. So it's a lot, but
I'm
anyways,
actually
are
a
there more
fan of leaving
questions?
orders. For me, I found like,
Yeah,
what? If you did the research, if you did the homework, you know what? Leave the order there. Eventually it'll hit. Maybe it won't, but you know what? We go through so many tickers, so one of them is gonna hit eventually.
exactly. Eventually it's going to hit. Just leave the order there. But the best advice I can give you guys is literally put your alerts because I didn't have my alerts on all these, honestly. And after the fact of getting these buy orders and having my heart sink into my chest, I was like, oh geez, heart sink into my stomach. I mean, I was like, oh boy, I better put some alerts on. So it's really important to put your alerts on. So then you are in, then you know when your buy order is coming and you can say yes or no, depending on what the market conditions are. Because honestly, if we do end up with a real big bear market, you don't want to have a whole bunch of gap fills, in that type of situation. You just don't. So so be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And we
Any
have a
more?
question here from Mason. Laura, could you look
Okay.
at FSLY? I saw that the gap filled there, and I really want to know if you think it'll make it to the $97 mark.
FSLY.
Oops, sorry, FSLR, I think.
Oh,
Is it FSL? Actually, I
F
think it's FSL. Yeah,
for
FSLR.
solar. Yeah, okay. Okay. So let me I'm pulling it up on my other screen here. Okay, here we go. So, okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to do this. You can kind of here. All right. So, we're talking about this gap fill here. Is this correct?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Sure. Well, I'm not God, and I'm not going to be able to tell you if it's going to make it to that, you know, to that gap fill or not. But what I can say is you can put alerts, along the way. There's a gap here as well, right here at 90. It'll probably fill that one first. And then, it's very possible. This is also a resistance, this 95.22 gap. So what you do is you want to hover over this red candle here. If you can see, TJ, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm hovering over this red candle, and what you're going to want to do is look at the closing price of this red candle, and it says 95.84. Okay, so and this is kind of the resistance here. It shows kind of some resistance here. But this is the close of this candle, 95.84. Now, price action could possibly get to 95, or sorry, 98. Wait, hold on. This one was 95.84. So it is possible, you won't get every penny of this gap, if that's the gap you're talking about. Now, you could also be talking about some of these gaps below. Here's the thing, you kind of want to look at this. You kind of have a trend line here. So if it's popping above this trend line here, I would say, it's more bullish. And it seems like it did kind of close above this trend line here. There's three reactions, one here, and one here. So it seems like this is, heading up that way. But if, you get a failure on Monday and it kind of comes back down, watch for these other gaps to be filled over here. We got a few of them right in here. So let me just zoom in here to show you. You can see here, like if it were me and I were trading for solar, I would probably wait for price action to go up because, like I said, this does look a bit more bullish, and I would probably put my buy order kind of up there on that gap. But there's some other buy orders, or sorry, sell orders. That's what I meant. There's another gap down here too that you could be looking at in case the market turned red again, right? Right about the close of this candle. So that would be 63.05. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. That's the close. Remember, you don't want to put it exactly 63.05 because you'll end up with a CBAT situation like me. I didn't get those 3 pennies off of my order. So you want to maybe go up a few pennies. Some big whale could come in and they can put in their order right at the close of this candle, and you'll never get it. So anyways, so that's a possibility too on that one. Overall, this one looks pretty bullish. So
Yeah, I could
for
see
solar.
95s at least on that one.
Yeah, and there's a gap. There's a decent gap. You can even see it on the weekly view here. So
And we have a question here. Does all gaps get filled? And to be honest, there's three main types of gaps, right? There's the breakaway gaps or breakout gaps, depends where you read it from. The other one is the runaway gaps, which is the ones where, price is consolidating, it spikes up, and then it just continues to climb from there, which we pretty much seen on a lot of the examples that Laura mentioned until we obviously had this little dip buy. Then it became like an exhaustion gap where you have price that moved up, it gapped up really high, and then as soon as the market came down, stocks started falling. You saw a lot of strong stocks just filling all those gaps that it gapped up previously.
So I want to interject something real quick. Once a gap gets filled, one of two things happens. Okay, so you can fill the gap and continue higher. I call that gap and go. So kind of, you fill the gap and it just continues on. Maybe the momentum is really strong. And then the other time is you get a gap fill and then a reversal, and like a lot of the examples I just gave you. And sometimes you'll even see an overshoot too before the reversal. I think I gave you one of those examples as well. And then you'll also see you rarely see this, but you do see a partial gap fill. So price action is going down to fill the gap, but it won't completely fill. And that was my CBAT example. That was 3 pennies off. So anyways, that will happen sometimes too.
Is the gap that you choose for your entry dependent on the RSI being at a certain level? How do you choose which gap?
To be honest, I don't look at the RSI when I'm choosing my buy order, my gap fill. I look at the price action though. I look at, how far away is price action. Of course, I want more of I usually pick bottoms, like in this case. Not always is that the case, but I probably put a lot of these orders on weeks ago, when they were trading much higher in price. But like I'll just sit on a Saturday and I'll just go through charts. I'm putting buy orders in, where gaps are. So yeah, so I don't really look at the RSI, but then I put an alert I usually put an alert when my order is about to fill. Okay, this is really important. When the order is about to fill, like maybe 30 cents away or something, okay? If it's just about to fill, the alert goes off. It tells you to look at the chart, and so then you know to pull up the chart. It looks like your price order is about to fill, and then you look at the RSI. You can say, is there some bullish divergence? Is the RSI in the right location? Is this a bullish time in the market? Is this a bearish time in the market? You have to really consider all the things before your before your order fills. Okay, so that's my, and then, volume too. Volume is one of the most important things. So make sure you're checking out your volume. Just on the daily volume. So, okay, hopefully
And
that's,
Laura,
yeah.
sorry. I was wondering if you can pull up NVAX. I think NVAX was one of the cleanest gap fills that I've seen in a while.
Is this you talking, TJ, or is this
Yeah.
answers?
Oh, that was for me. I think if you take a look at like that daily chart, we had that gap up that happened in the beginning of February. Then we finally pulled back, came right back
Okay,
down,
so
filled the gap.
I have my order sitting here. Imagine that. Look where I
There it
have my
is.
order, guys. Right here. You see that? That's my 100 share order sitting at this gap. Will it make it down there? Who knows? You know, who knows? But okay, sorry. I'm gonna go back up here. What were you talking about?
Oh, just the level right above there,
Right above where? Right here?
around
Oh yeah.
140. Yeah.
Yes, I see it. We didn't quite fill that gap. Nope. Look, right here, this gap? No, it wasn't filled
The
because
120, around 150. I think it was on December. In December, we had this major move, December 1st.
okay, let's look back. December 1st, which is here.
Yeah,
Is
and you see where you have the number 3 written down on your Elliott wave?
oh, that's not
You see how the
oh yeah.
top
Yeah.
hit? So more recently, we just pretty much tapped it and then moved right back up.
That was a gap?
Yeah, like just like last week, I think.
Okay, let's see. Right here you're talking about?
Yeah, because we had that gap. So, and then if you take a look at March, right, when we came back down, we pretty much just tested that level again and
Oh,
then gapped right back up.
yeah. But this gap wasn't filled here. You see that?
Yeah,
This gap right here, that wasn't filled, and that is the gap that you know would more likely be filled, wouldn't you think?
yeah. I hope not, because I'm in at a
Yeah,
higher
because you're
price.
in the position. Well, we got a big red candle up here. Um, I don't know what the news is around this thing. But I mean, it's broken above my trend line. Believe me, I'm watching this too, and I'm sorry, this is kind of more messy. But there's this trend line here, as you can see. It's not as well drawn, probably because I drew it on the weekly chart. Um, but we have this one kind of coming down here, um, which is okay. So this trend line here, this blue one, this top one, is also in confluence with my other gap fill down here. This one, this gap. If you look here, where these cross, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Where this one kind of comes up from the bottom, this one kind of comes up down here. This is perfectly in line with my gap fill. I'm gonna bet that we will make it down here to this 100 level. But who knows if it'll be, we might go up a bit before we come back down, but I have a feeling we're going to make it down. We'll revisit this chart in a few weeks, but I have a feeling we're going to get back down to 100. So 100 level here, right at this gap fill, because just all the confluence happening there. Because if we redraw this perfectly, let me redraw this perfectly. Come right in through here. Seems to be about right there, which when I zoom in to all of this area here, it seems to be right about, so you can see where this gap is here. Seems to be right where these two are going to cross. We'll see if it fills, but I've got my buy order there. Everybody knows now, all 100 of you. so anyways, but yeah, that's a good one to look at. I don't know, honestly. I just, like I said, this is kind of the lazy man's way of trading. I put my orders in and, just kind of let them fill when they fill. But I will probably put an alert on this one as it gets closer. You guys know how to do alerts, right? Make sure, I don't know what the trader, what everybody's level is, but you just, right click the alert. Um, and then you set the alert. Do you want it at or above? So I want it um, at or below. I want it at or below 113.86. And then I create an alert, and then it shows up here. So before my order fills, I can check if there's, what the RSI is doing, if there's some divergence there, what the candles look like, what the volume is. I mean, you just have to add everything up together. But it is always good to have these alerts set. I hope I answered your
Yeah.
question. Okay.
We have another question. This one's good. What's your typical stop loss with this strategy? Would you
Oh,
just put it below the closest support?
yeah, that's a good question. I don't actually put a ton of stop losses on, to be real honest, but you know, when the market changes, right now we're in a pretty bullish market. So my strategy is I'll probably hold these long term even if it goes below, but it is a good idea, yeah, to the nearest support below. So in this case, like if I were waiting for this gap to fill here, it just depends on what your risk tolerance is too, what you're willing to lose. How good do you think the company is? Do I really think NVAX is great? You have to ask these questions to yourself. What's the company worth? Go through the fundamentals. And then, figure out with all those questions answered, how much you're willing to lose if it goes below your gap fill. Because it could do a gap fill and then go. It keeps going down. That's a real possibility. But then the gap fill reversal is a good possibility in a really bullish market too, which we've been having. So anyway, any other tickers you guys want me to look at?
So we have TUP. Oh,
Okay,
this one's interesting because it gapped down on me. So I was wondering the same thing. When do I either add or take off?
let's see. Again, look at the daily chart. Oh yeah, there's a big gap below. So are we looking at the gap above or gap below? Oh, look at that gap. Wow. Who got that, Phil? I was looking at it too. Look at my line drawn here. You see? So, I didn't take an order here, but you can really see there's this gap here that filled. Oh, it hasn't filled yet. Oh, wow.
Close. I
But
like that, Phil. 22.
yeah, this is a nice fill, guys. If this is something you're thinking about, you got my 2 thumbs up here. So this is the closing candle is 21.32. You hover over it with the mouse and you look up here. So what did I just say? 21.32. So then you draw your line. 21.32. Well, that might you actually want to do the top of this candle, not the bottom of that candle. Sorry, that it would be from this candle to here. That would be the gap. So it would be not the closing. It would be the opening price. Sorry. So then you would look up at the top left for the opening price is 22.26. So that is 22. So I put the line at 22.28. Okay, so I would expect this to fill right here. I would put your alert right here. You go to create an alert at or below $23. Bingo, it's gonna chime. You're gonna open your chart. You're gonna look at the RSI and you're gonna say, this is a buy. It's a buy. Yes, I like it. Yeah, it also depends on the market too. Like I said, if we're all of a sudden in a bearish market, some crazy black swan event comes out, it's not a buy. then then there might be a level that it could come down to below that. So, but yeah, I like this fill right here. I think I'd put a trade on there.
All right, and another question: how many open orders do you have sitting at one time?
Oh dear, don't ask me that. I probably have hundreds,
Yeah,
hundreds, seriously,
same.
maybe even 200. I mean, seriously, this is what I do. I just, for fun, I just put in my orders, and that's why it could be a bad thing because like if we get into a bearish market, I'm kind of screwed in a way because all my orders will be hitting. So I'll have to revisit this if the times change. Okay. So this is really important. Right now, I think everything's okay. And I would be happy to have some orders filling, at lower levels. But you got to keep an eye on the market. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, me too. Like I have a ton of open orders. When I look for something that's a good ad, I'll just have the order
Uh-huh.
there. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but law of large numbers. You have enough orders on there, one of those gaps are gonna fill, and then you're gonna get like one of those really good entries.
So what I want you guys to do for homework, send me some gap fills if you wouldn't mind. You can DM me with tell me where you would place your order. Okay. Give me the ticker, where you would place your order, and if this and tell me about the trade. Tell me a little bit about the trade. And what I'll do is I'll compile the ones that I think are the best, and I'll put them together for you guys. So you guys will all be helping each other out. You'll be helping me, and you'll be helping the whole team out. So if you like this strategy and this is something you may consider, maybe just give me one ticker, not a whole bunch. Just one ticker that you feel is really good, and I'll compile them, and I'll give my top 10 of all the tickers that come in. It'll help me with my due diligence too, so I don't mind putting the time in to do that for you guys.
That's a great idea, actually. That's amazing.
Yeah, we work as a team, right? So I think if we can come up with some plans where we all can benefit, that would be great. So,
All right, perfect. And any last questions? Yeah,
oh, I have one more thing for you guys, real quick. So I'm looking at the chart of QQQ and tell me what you guys think here. If you guys want to pull it up, I'll pull it up too. Um, yeah. So we're all concerned about tech stocks these days. So let's look at QQQ here. You guys can see my chart okay?
yeah,
Okay. So you can see there's this pretty big gap here, right? 331. What do you guys think about that? I've already put my dotted yellow line. We are heading up there at this point. So this is where my attention is, right here, for the coming week or so. What do you think, TJ?
well, I like that. I think I should align some of my positions to get out of takes us scale out. If we get to that area, that'll be nice.
So too, because we'll have a nice what is it, this ascending triangle at that point with the let's see, if it does fail, we'd be looking something like that, you know.
Yeah, that's perfect.
right? It would be off a little bit, but anyways, so yeah, so I just wanted to bring up QQQ because I know people are looking at it a lot. So, well, I think that concludes my lesson. I'd be happy to give other lessons if you guys are interested, but this is the one thing I use almost all the time. This is pretty much what always, and then you could do it on your own time. You can do it on the weekends and you can sleep in a little bit. So you can I have a little tighter schedule and I have to kind of focus more of my efforts on charting over the weekends. So it gives you more time to do it on your own time.
And Laura, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do this lesson. Also wanted to give a shout out to our training team. They've been working on this lesson and a series of other lessons as well. And guys, if you have any more questions, Laura's in UT. You can just ask her. And yeah, I think a couple more lessons on gap fill and gap fill strategies, that would be nice. And it's also important to kind of see how it plays out. So it would be nice to kind of review it in a couple months.
Yeah, it will be really great. I wonder about SPY. Are there any? There's lots of big gaps on the downside, but not so many up. So we're at the top of our game here on SPY, but we got a lot of gaps to fill below. Keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. So, all right. Well, I'll close off. I'll stop sharing at this point. Thanks so much for participating. Thanks for all your
Yeah, thank
questions.
you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys. See you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Bye.